garden for a walk. And you just do a woody line all in. Just like waves.
Hello, my name's Mark, and with Ali we founded Straw, Save the Trees of ARMADA Way, approximately 4 months ago. Basically, we set it up because we heard about the council's plan to cut down pretty much every single mature tree on ARMADA Way. We thought that was wrong. We started a campaign, and that campaign avalanched. We now have about 12,000 signatories on our petition, quite the social following. Basically, the people of Plymouth have responded in such a way. They're angry, they're disappointed, they feel let down that the council do commit such a barbarous act to this green corridor of Plymouth.
Now, Mark, we're talking about these trees here, aren't we?
We're talking about these trees all
These
the way
trees
down to
here.
Armada Way, and indeed some of the ones behind you.
And
there's a lot of them. Yes, there's 130 odd trees that they're going to cut down. They originally were going to save one of them, of the mature trees. Recently they've said they're going to save another 6, 7, but again they're up the top, they're out of the way. We don't agree with that. We know our followers, everyone who signed our petition, that 99% of the people who signed our petition want to save far, far more than just the paltry amount the council think we should be saving.
what about these up here?
So these trees up here, they're the ones in, I think they call that zone 2. They are pretty much all for the chop except that one nearest on the right.
Right.
That's one of the additional few that are being saved, that's been granted a reprieve as long as they don't damage it during the construction works as well. But yes, the ones that are being saved, you've got the 16 sweet gums that are already down on the piazza. They've been growing there for 15 plus years.
You'd never think so, would you?
You wouldn't think so.
No, absolutely not.
They've been there for 15 years. If you look on Google Earth, Google Maps, look down, you can see in the summer the extent of those trees compared to the extent, the canopy cover of all of the other trees.
It's like black and white.
It's black and white.
It's huge.
It's black and white. It's green and grey. Up here it's green.
Yes.
Down there it's grey. And
Yes.
what the council are proposing, they're just going to turn this into a grey, barren wilderness. It'll be a wind tunnel, for one. It won't be a haven for some of the wildlife we've got here. So many things. There's so much wrong with the scheme at the moment. So we're walking down ARMADA Way at the moment, down this avenue of mature horse chestnuts. There's several things that the council haven't done. They haven't conducted an environmental impact assessment, an EIA. They haven't conducted a biodiversity net gain. They said they had, but they hadn't, and they only started conducting one about 3 weeks ago. There's been no bat survey done. There has been no wind tunnel assessment done of ARMADA Way. As a lot of people know, when you get down to the piazza on a windy day, what with the city running, ARMADA Way running north-south, it's very, very windy. There's no trees there to break it up. If you come up further from the sundial this way, the trees will break up that wind tunnel effect, but expect to see more people being blown over in the autumn and winter. So the council thought they were quite canny insofar that they are using a loophole. They're using a scheme called permitted development. What permitted development means is generally anybody can, they've taken on the fact that this was and is, was a road at one point, and it's still classed as a road. So they've used permitted development to bypass lots of the usual planning rules and safety protections that every other builder and developer would have to comply with. And they basically don't have to get planning permission for a lot of things. They can ride roughshod over the norms that we would expect. And yes, so that's where we've ended up.
So what's next then? There's a big meeting on Monday, I believe.
There is a council meeting on Monday. It's one of the 5 they have a year, where all the councillors convene, and the They will present their new revised plan for a vote. We hope that doesn't go through because the revised plan, as pretty much all of our petitioners think, is terrible. Then there is a Labour and Green motion going through. There is also an independently proposed motion that's going through with the Independent Alliance. Both of those are looking at furthering the pause and more public engagement, finding out actually what the people of Plymouth want, which is what we've been asking for since the start of this campaign. So a number of people have asked us what's wrong with the new plan. I mean, there's plenty wrong with the new plan. It's simply a small evolution of the old plan. The old plan was terrible. The new plan, slightly less terrible. It's slightly less terrible insofar that they're saving 7 trees, all of which pretty much are up here in the section by Sainsbury's and the Copthorne.
This is up here, which is basically out of the way.
It's out of the way. I mean, it's a loved part of ARMADA Way. In the summer, you'd see office workers out here coming out for a sandwich or a cigarette. People would meet. There were plenty of benches in there. But the plan itself still stinks. It's terrible. I mean, you look down ARMADA Way.
The plan takes us right down through, doesn't it?
Takes us right down through from North Cross roundabout all the way down to the sundial. Those are the trees that are affected the most. Yeah.
Because these trees here have been here a long time. They're established. And the way I see it, this is a green lung.
Absolutely.
And on a hot day, it's beautiful here. The wind in the leaves is fantastic.
Yep, absolutely. It's called the green lung of Plymouth. You look at it from above, you can see that. It's the largest green strip in the centre of Plymouth. The trees here, they're between 50 and 80 years old. The avenue trees that go down either side, the horse chestnuts, they were planted in the 50s. They would have been planted when our parents and grandparents were running around and enjoying them.
But the city is going to replant lots of trees, isn't it?
Oh, you're right, Steve. The city is going to replant loads of trees.
Twigs, I call them.
Yep, saplings basically. 3/4 of the trees that the council are replanting are, by very definition, they're saplings. They like to say they're replanting mature trees and semi-mature trees. They're putting in some trees that at one point had a height of 7 to 8 metres. Then they changed that to 6 to 8 metres. The most recent plan says the new trees will be 5 to 8 metres, so they'll probably be about 5 metres.
They're expensive, trees.
Very, very expensive. And you simply can't get the trees at the moment. You can't get 8-metre trees. They're in very short supply anyway, and since Brexit, we've got such problems importing them, arborists, landscapes, they can't get them into the country. So we'll be lucky to get 5-metre trees, but only 1/4 of the trees will be 5-metre trees. 3/4 of the trees, if you look at their own website, 3/4 of the trees will have tiny sapling diameters on the trunks. So 3/4 will be young trees that will take at least 30 years and probably quite a lot longer to approach any kind of semi-maturity. They won't look anything like these trees here for decades and decades. A lot of people in Plymouth, a lot of the residents of Plymouth, simply won't live long enough to see what these trees could look like. If you look at the plans on the council website, big, green, bushy trees, they won't look like that. What's behind the council's plan? We don't know. We've absolutely no idea. They've put together this plan that didn't take into account one of the best features of ARMADA Way. At the beginning of all of this, in 2017, 2018, they could have approached the architects and said, let's have a plan that incorporates all of our beautiful mature trees. But they didn't. They went to the architects, decided to get rid of all the trees. They could have started, not with a blank canvas, but with a beautiful canvas. They could have something that all of the inhabitants, the residents of Plymouth, could have been proud of. Instead, what we're going to end up with, a grey, drab wind tunnel. A grey, drab wind tunnel that people won't use, that will be neglected, that will suffer from a lack of maintenance. Plymouth doesn't have a great history at maintaining water features that run through.
There's one
the
already
centre.
here, isn't there?
There was one already here. It's over in that section there. It's been demolished pretty much. It still kind of exists here.
And it runs right through, but it's not worked for years.
It's not worked, I think, from what I remember, for about 15 years.
Yeah.
It's a long time. And indeed, ARMADA Way looks a little tardy at the moment. The council haven't really maintained it for a few years. It's been left, and I know the grounds people, the people that work in the parks and spaces, they do their best, but their numbers have been cut drastically over the past decade. There were hundreds of them. There are now, and I was told this, I don't know if it's correct, but I've told there's 60 or 70 of them now that cover the entire city. So they're doing their best, but with very limited resources. They just can't maintain this centre properly. More should have been done. And now a plan's put in place that's going to require an awful lot of maintenance. The council haven't told us how much budget they've put aside for maintenance. It's believed that they're only looking at maintaining it for a couple of years in terms of the budget they have. That's what I've heard. But yet there's no forward plan for maintaining what is a more complicated city centre avenue.
Oh, that's the peace sign. Yeah, well done, well done. Please, will you chop it down, then pollinators? Big, wonderful garden. Where Mummy and some of my other parents trying to make it into a star. Or a hat. Or a hat.
What's happening here then?
We're doing some little nature-themed craft activities with families, making little mini books, tree pledge books, or wishes for nature, or statements of intent. And getting the children to think about what they want to do for nature, how they can protect nature, or and the other thing, making little 3D, because who doesn't love flowers? They look like the ones in your hairband.
What are you trying to do today?
So we're trying to use creative activities to engage with the public. It's a nice way to get people to stop and have a conversation and stop under the trees and look around them and understand what it is we're all trying to stop happening here, really, because it's easy to walk past and not realise how lucky we are to have this. So yeah, just got a few creative things for families to do, making little paper books, pledges for nature, or hopes or wishes for the future concerning nature, and making little paper flowers for people to take home.
I don't think everybody realises the scale of the destruction that's going to be here. Tell me, what's this here?
It's a poem.
What's this here then?
I've brought a poem because I love the trees so much, and I'm not the only one. It's a human thing. It's a human thing to relate to nature.
Well,
and the trees that are older than us have got so much to tell us.
11,000 people who signed the petition will agree with you.
I believe so. And I would like to draw in, possibly by hanging this poem up here, other people who might not realise how they value the trees, how much they value the trees. I would like to draw in people to feel that if they love something enough, they do not want to see it.
They'll certainly miss them when they're not here. It goes ahead.
They're too beautiful. They're too beautiful to lose. They are themselves, and it's.
You're absolutely right. They are too beautiful. Just themselves.
They're too beautiful in themselves to lose, and they give us a lesson in the connectedness of their that they're connecting us to earth. We're connected to everything on the earth. The trees are part of that. They're an object and an example, and they don't have to say anything, they just have to be. And when they are here and beautiful, that's what they do, that's the lesson. And perhaps these words, if anybody stops long enough to stop and think and look, and they might find that feeling within themselves, so that they then can also value them enough to put up a fight for them.
But of course,
Put up a fight for them.
Everywhere we see today on ITV, BBC or whatever, it's all about keeping green spaces. It's all about conservation. It's all about protecting things, protecting the environment. It's not, by and large, about destroying it. And yet that's what we have here.
We're so... When we destroy nature, we destroy ourselves. We are so part of nature that when we damage and destroy what feeds us, the relationship we have to trees, all plants, but trees, is a very intimate and personal relationship. They breathe out oxygen. We breathe in their oxygen.
It's a cycle, isn't it?
We put out the carbon dioxide. Those trees breathe in, they draw in our carbon dioxide. You can't get closer than more intimate than that, and we need that balanced exchange to continue in the way that it is supporting us right now.
So what's happening here then?
Well, this is just a creative event. We've got some placards here that Dave's making up. This is a design. One of our team has created this, which is beautiful, and it is very much the ethos of straw. I think every tree matters.
How do you feel about the whole thing?
I go from being optimistic to being genuinely frightened for the trees. I think there's so much positive energy behind this campaign, and some incredibly conscientious and talented people within it. I think we've certainly, if somebody's going to push straw and keep these trees, or as many of them as possible, then I think the team here will do it, and the public as well, because they've joined in. They help tie ribbons around trees when my arms aren't long enough.
It's the biggest petition Plymouth's ever had.
It is. Yeah.
I also think it's the biggest ever time when the citizens of Plymouth have stood up against the city.
Yes, yeah, I think so, and I feel every Saturday we're here leafleting and talking to people. It's overwhelmingly, people are shocked. Many people still haven't heard about the plans, and people love these trees. They stand and they look up at them as they talk to me, wistfully, remembering times that they've enjoyed, family trips here, and they mean so much to people, and I feel for Plymouthians a duty to do this. I think this is something that they're passionate about.
Thank you very much. What's happening here then?
We're making placards. We've made a series of medium size, small size, and we've got some sandwich boards we're in the middle of making, and we're just deciding what message to put it in, because you can see the blank at the moment. So this is to use probably on Monday to try and attract people's attention, so the councillors know what we're doing and why. It's similar kind of stuff as what we got the banners up for, just to get our message across.
Fantastic, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Peter, and I'm here from Cornwall, and I'm an artist who likes to draw out on the street with people. And I like to get people involved in drawing trees, and in this case we're trying to show the appreciation for trees and observe them in situ, so to speak. And people and trees, really, that's really my theme here. So I'm going to unroll here some work that I did earlier in the week. And here I can show some images here of the people and trees in the background, and that's what we're going to do today as well.
So are these actual people?
Yeah, these are actually, that's somebody did a portrait of me here, and that's somebody who's
That's
just
you,
passed.
is it?
Yeah, someone did
Hang on.
that. It's good, isn't it?
It's not too bad.
No, it isn't, is it?
Yes.
And then there was somebody passing by, and I just drew him. So, yeah, and then I was drawing the trees in the background. So it's really about the combination of people and trees, because that's really what it's all about, isn't it? I think.
Thank you.
All right. All the branches there.
Yes, on Monday, a journalist from the Sunday Times came down and he met us down by the sundial and we walked him up and we all talked to him individually. There's one mother and daughter and the mum is quite elderly and she remembers, you know, all the planting all those years ago, and she's a great campaigner and she must be in her 80s, and then Lynn's here as well, she's in her 60s. And anyway, we all got a chance to say different angles of what we thought about why the excuses they were giving weren't really valid and what other reasons we thought might be behind it, such as a digital future as a smart city, which is my strong theory.
How does taking this away make Plymouth smart?
Digital, all digital, cashless, digital, everything can be done just up at a mast. You just walk up to the mast probably and it can do almost everything. But then your phone can too, can't it?
Yeah.
So if you have 5G.
You don't have to remove trees for that, surely, do you?
If you want a straight line with no obstruction, yes.
Yeah,
and once
get
you
it.
think about that, it really makes you think, yes, that all makes sense.
I really hope you're wrong.
But a lot of the trees on the sides wouldn't affect it, and they're still going. So that's one thing they could change. Even if they have to go ahead with all the digital stuff, surely more trees can remain.
I would think so.
It's just a kind of, must spend all this money, let's spend it as expensively as we can, you know. But the thing that most people are worried about is the maintenance in future of all these features, this water features, the tree features, because clearly these aren't maintained. And if some of them are a bit shabby and a bit diseased, then it's not surprising. But we love them, and I don't know what I will do when I have to watch the first one coming down. It'll be really difficult to know how to react to that. I won't know until it happens.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Getting there. Because I keep stopping and yapping, so sorry.
It's alright, she's like,
You got amazing colour eyes.
yeah, your mama, don't
Yeah,
you?
got two different.
Just be careful, darling, you're going to fall. Kids have got no tree out.
Paper, that's it. Good job.
What a lovely mess. It's a mess, isn't it?
This is what's going to happen if they cut the trees down. Oopsie daisy. Big old mess, isn't it? Oh, good job, Emmy.
Meanwhile, do these await the death sentence of Plymouth City?